Okay, how's everybody doing today? I thought I hadn't done a review of anything in a while, so I thought I might give you my thoughts on wireless routers. Obviously, in the type of business I'm in, you have to install routers quite often, and today I wanted to talk about the virtues of different kinds of routers. The two main brands out there on the market are Linksys and Netgear, and I tend to like to stick with those myself. For a number of years, I was a big Linksys fan. And then recently, the last couple of years, they've changed their marketing around, they've changed their product around, and they've gone to, now it's Cisco by Linksys, and they've made some changes that I don't particularly like, and I now prefer a Netgear router to Linksys. Let me talk about that for a minute. The reason I don't like Linksys is a couple reasons. The standard routers that most people buy nowadays, first off, when you open it up and you hook it up, there's no lights on them anymore. Now, I know for some people they don't like those lights blinking all the time, especially maybe some people do have their computers in their bedrooms and are light sleepers or light sensitive and they don't want to see those at night. And for those people that might be all well and good, but the bottom line is, in order to tell if a router is functioning properly a lot of the time, at least in a cursory type of way, you need to be able to see those lights and see what's blinking on there, if there's internet connectivity, if the plug is plugged in properly, the Cat5 or whatnot, and you don't see those anymore. And if you bring in a technician, that makes it more difficult for a technician to diagnose the problem too. So I don't like that at all. And I would suggest buying a Linksys Netgear router like that. Now, the other problem is this. Recently, my experiences with Linksys Netgear routers have been pretty bad. Not so much if you have a cable modem, but if you're running DSL through AT&T or any other type of network, Verizon, Cox, whoever, there are issues setting them up. One thing that Linksys Netgear almost forces you to install now is a program called Network Magic, which is supposed to obviously manage your wireless networks, which you really don't need because it's a redundant product, and pretty much network management can be left to whatever operating system you're running on, whether it's in an Apple computer or more commonly obviously in a Windows computer in Windows 7. So you don't need that at all. Now, recently I've had two installations where I've had to install Linksys routers, and they both have gone badly for two reasons. The first one I set up, they were both DSLs. One was in a home and one was in an office. The first one I set up in the home worked fine until the Network Magic came in. As soon as the Network Magic set itself up, boom, lost all internet connection. And it is extremely difficult not to put that on the computer. You almost have to install that program once you use the setup CD. And they make it extremely difficult to set it up manually. Not that most people, now I prefer obviously to set up manually because to me it's easier. It takes 5 minutes. I know what I'm doing. I can go in through a gateway and type in the username and password and be in there and out in 5 minutes. And I realize a lot of people can't do that, so you need to use the setup CD. But the Network Magic causes problems. The second installation I went to, which was just 3 or 4 days ago, I brought a Linksys Netgear router because it was just convenient to have one at the time, and I set it up, and it could not configure itself for the DSL, which means, and that's another problem, it's with DSL more than Linksys, but you know, if you have a cable modem, you don't have to worry about it being set up. You don't need a username or password. And with the older type DSL, you do, especially in the area I'm in Central Texas, you need the email address and the password to set it up if it can't do it automatically. Unfortunately, most people don't have or don't keep correctly their usernames and passwords or their email addresses and passwords, and you have to call AT&T, and that can be a nightmare and take a lot of time, which means you're paying a technician to do it. So I just strongly suggest that. Of course, the other thing was the modem I was replacing it with was the router I was replacing with was the exact same type of router, the exact same model, the exact same type, and the old one had just gone out. It had just stopped working. You couldn't type in a gateway and get a dialog box normally pops up that asks you for a username and password, and it wouldn't pop up. So I guess I would say maybe steer away from them. Now, let's talk about the Netgear wireless N routers, which run in the same price range. You know, an average one is at $40, $50, depending on where you go. I much prefer those. They're so much easier to set up. And here's why. You plug the thing in, you know, you have to know, obviously, you know, you go from the back of your modem, or you go back from the back of your DSL cable, your DSL box, you plug it in to the port on the back of the modem, and then you plug in from the back of the wireless router into your computer if you want to. Well, you have to, at least for the first time, to set it up. Or even, you really don't even have to do that. I mean, a lot of people have one computer by that router, so usually you can go in there. Anyway, once you plugged it in, you don't have to do, that's all you do is you go in and you open up a browser. Boom. Right there is the setup for the Netgear. Walks you through step-by-step setting it up, putting in a password. Doesn't try and install any junk programs like some kind of network management program, and in 5 minutes you're done. No DVD. It's built into the firmware in the router itself. It checks for its own updates. It does everything. It asks you if you want to set up the wireless. There's just no issues with it. I mean, Netgear for the average consumer is a dream to use compared to Linksys. And again, I used to be a Linksys guy. I used to love their products. But lately, I've had nothing but trouble with them, and I would strongly suggest to people, if you're going to buy a router, buy an average price Netgear wireless N. They're very much easier to set up. They're very much easier to use. They have the lights on them. I can't tell you they don't. And if you don't like lights, well, then put it on a table, but cover the lights. So I've seen people cover them with tape, or just put a little, piece of cloth over them, whatever. If it's in a room that's going to bother you, or the flashing lights do bother you for any reason. But I just strongly recommend it. And the proof is, I went in length to describe to you how I didn't feel the Linksys Cisco routers were adequate anymore, and it took quite a number of minutes. And it just doesn't take that long to tell you about the Netgears. They're very much easier to use. So, I'm sorry I don't have any samples here for you folks to use, but just think about it. This is my personal opinion, obviously, but I am a technician. I go out all the time. I work on networks for people. I work on networks for businesses. For the average consumer, you are much better served by buying a Linksys router than, a Netgear router than a Linksys. Anyway, I hope everybody had a great weekend, and I will try and post a little bit more on a regular basis than I have been lately. Have a great day.